A machine gets shut off for maintenance. Someone assumes it's safe because the switch is in the off position. Then someone else flips it back on without knowing a technician still has their hands inside it. That's exactly the kind of incident Lockout/Tagout exists to prevent. Failure to control hazardous energy is one of the most cited violations in the industry year after year. And the injuries are amputations, crush injuries, and fatalities. The uncomfortable part is that most of these facilities had a LOTO program. It just wasn't followed, or it was never written properly in the first place. Here's what LOTO actually is, and how to do it properly, step by step. What is Lockout Tagout? Lockout/Tagout is a safety procedure used to control hazardous energy during maintenance or repair work. Locking out means physically isolating the energy source, such as electrical, mechanical, hydraulic, or pneumatic, so equipment can't be started or released. Tagging out means labeling that isolation point so anyone nearby knows work is in progress and why the power is off. The reason this matters is simple. Equipment doesn't always look dangerous when it's off. Stored energy in a spring, pressure in a hydraulic line, or a capacitor that hasn't discharged can all cause serious injury even when the main switch is in the off position. Step 1. Prepare for shutdown. Before touching anything, identify every energy source connected to the equipment: electrical, mechanical, hydraulic, pneumatic, or thermal. Review the specific lockout procedure for that piece of equipment, since different machines have different isolation points and different numbers of energy sources. Notify everyone who might be affected that the equipment is about to be shut down for maintenance. Skipping this step is how people end up working on equipment they think is fully isolated when it isn't. Step 2. Shut down the equipment. Turn off the equipment using its normal operating controls. This isn't the isolation step yet. It's just the standard shutdown sequence, the same way you'd stop the machine at the end of a normal shift. Step 3. Isolate the energy source. Now, physically disconnect the equipment from all identified energy sources. This might mean opening a disconnect switch, closing a valve, blocking a mechanical linkage, or disconnecting an air line. Every energy source identified in Step 1 needs to be isolated here, not just the obvious one. Step 4. Apply lockout and tagout devices. Attach a lock to each isolation point so it physically can't be re-energized, and attach a tag identifying who applied it, when, and why. If more than one person is working on the equipment, each person applies their own lock. A hasp, a scissor clamp, goes through the isolation point and accepts several locks, or the group's keys go into a lockbox that stays locked until everyone's done. The equipment can't be re-energized until every single lock has been removed by the person who applied it. This is what prevents the exact scenario from the intro: someone assuming the equipment is safe and turning it back on while another person is still working on it. Step 5. Release stored energy. Even after isolating the power source, equipment can still hold stored energy in springs, capacitors, pressurized lines, or elevated components that could fall. Release, block, or dissipate any stored energy before starting work. This step gets skipped more often than any other, and it's responsible for some of the most serious LOTO-related injuries. Step 6. Verify isolation. Before starting work, verify the equipment is actually de-energized. Try the normal operating controls to confirm nothing responds, then return those controls to the off position. Use a meter or gauge to confirm zero energy state where applicable. For electrical work, test your meter on a known live source before and after, so you know the meter itself wasn't the thing that was dead. This step exists because a lock and a tag only work if the isolation itself was done correctly. Verification is what catches a mistake before someone gets hurt because of it. Step 7. Perform the work. Once isolation is verified, maintenance or repair work can begin. Locks and tags stay in place for the entire duration of the work, even during breaks or shift changes, until the job is fully complete. At a shift change, the protection has to transfer without a gap. That means the incoming worker applies their lock first, then the outgoing worker removes theirs. The machine is never left unlocked in between. Step 8. Restore the equipment safely. When the work is finished, remove tools, Make sure guards and safety devices are reinstalled and clear all personnel from the area. Each person removes their own lock. No one removes a lock that isn't theirs. Notify everyone in the area that the locks are coming off and the equipment is going live. Only after every lock is removed does the equipment get re-energized and tested. Lockout/tagout isn't complicated, but every step exists because a specific type of incident has happened when that step got skipped. Isolating the wrong source, missing stored energy, or skipping verification are the moments where LOTO fails, not the concept itself. If you're tracking LOTO procedures across multiple pieces of equipment and multiple technicians, keeping every isolation point, every lock, and every verification step documented in one place makes it far easier to prove your program is actually being followed, not just written down. And that documentation is what turns the 8 steps you just watched into an actual program. To see how the documentation works for LOTO in your own EHS program, check out our EHS solution by SDS Manager.